Craig here from Bass Lessons Melbourne. This week for our player profile video I've got Mr. Josh Verco. How you doing, man?
Good. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah.
Good to see you again. So maybe we can just start off with tell us a little bit about how you came to play bass.
Interesting story. Long story.
Is it?
I actually
Not too long.
I actually started as a young tacker in the primary school days. The form came out through school of, do you want to learn an instrument? And I grew up in mid-north South Australia, so in the country areas. I'm a country kid.
What, mid-north South Australia?
Yeah, mid-north, so we call it, yeah.
Mid-north South.
Yeah, you kind of got north, and then you got south, and then you got mid-north, so yeah, not too far north.
Okay, in the south.
Yeah. So I was a country kid either way, in a country school, and it was Mum who suggested, would you like to play an instrument? So I kind of went, I'll give it a go. We had a limited selection. It was all woodwind and brass then, and I sort of had my mindset on one instrument. But then when the teachers came around to the schools and spoke to us, they said, we were really short on trombone players. So yeah, I thought, I'm the kind of guy that likes to help out, so I'll do it. I'll do the trombone, and it's one of those things. So I did that for a few years, and it was leading up into high school. The seed got planted in my mind about learning a second instrument. So it was the teacher there, my trombone teacher, that suggested bass guitar.
Yeah. Because
they're all written in the same register.
Yeah.
All that sort of thing. So I was already reading about music.
Background instruments.
Yeah, sort of play that similar role to it.
Lots of minimums.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So, all the fun stuff that we like. So and I was at that time. I happened to be. I was still in primary school. Happened to be going to the high school. I'm playing in the concert bands there, and they had the bass guitar there with the rhythm section and all that. So I was able to kind of, when no one was looking, pick up the bass and have a go. And I was doing things just like hearing that, I was going, oh, that's amazing, a bit of Homer Simpson sort of thing. That's amazing. I played a lick. So
wrong amp.
Wrong amp. No, need to turn it on. Yeah. So Oh, there I am.
There you go.
So I was doing things like that, and from that I got hooked, and went into primary school, high school, and went, I'm going to play bass.
Yeah.
So I did that for the first year of high school. I really loved it. End of that year, I saved up all my Christmas and birthday money and all that sort of stuff, and went down the road and bought my first bass and amp package, and just went straight home, got out all my trombone charts, and just had my little chart of where the notes were on the fretboard and all that sort of thing. And I went, well, I know that's F of where it's written, I know that's C of where it's written, all that sort of stuff. So I was able to just grab all those charts and start learning to read it.
Okay.
And then, sure enough, I went from the trombone and just naturally transferred onto the bass, playing bass. And
so how old were you when you started playing bass?
Pretty much 14 is just turned 14. When I scooped all that sort of Christmas and birthday money together to do all that sort of thing. Just kind of it naturally. Sort of started going towards that rather than trombone. I still kept up the both, but it was quite a fortunate time, I think, being in a small country school. There are only about 160 kids.
Right.
In that school.
High school?
Yeah, in high school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so you think, the music opportunities would be quite limited there, but it was actually at that particular time, we had a new music teacher that came into school. He was a blues guitarist, so he was big on jamming the blues. So that was such a good grounding to be. I remember as kids we'd be going into the hall. You know, there'd be permanently the amp and the drums all set up there, and we'd just be jamming out blues songs.
That's awesome.
We'd learn a progression and we'd just flog the hell out of that progression for the next 6 months or something like that.
Cool.
You know, that's what we did at lunchtime. You know, we went and did that, and we even tried to extend it through the first lessons after lunch and all that until the teachers came and found us and kicked us out.
So
you're supposed to be in class.
You had like a school band that you were jamming with?
Yeah, well, I had a few. My brother was a drummer.
Right.
So, and you know, he really loved the heavy metal music. So there was a group of us that did that with a couple of guitarists and singers, and we did that kind of thing. You know, we wrote our own songs, and we had our own heavy metal band. So you know, I was playing Metallica and Rage Against the Machine and Iron Maiden and all that sort of stuff. You know, back then. Plus, I was doing the school band stuff. I was still doing the trombone stuff with brass quartets.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff.
Were you doing like concert band stuff on bass?
Yeah, concert bands on bass. So I've still kept up the reading. Also there was more of a contemporary group. There was another group of musicians, and they all came out of the churches. So they were kind of playing and singing regularly in their churches. So every now and then, although I didn't attend church myself, I would still help them out and playing on bass.
Everyone needs a bass player, right?
Yeah, well, that kind of thing. So they had their group of singers and guitarists that needed a bass player.
Yep.
So you know, I'd play with them. We had our own contemporary band where we played, you know, pop and rock songs at the local footy club dues and the fairs and all that sort of stuff. So we were out gigging, earning money in our teens and all that sort of stuff. So I had a really good, I suppose, you know, when I think about it, and being a teacher now, you know, and seeing what's really great for kids, a great environment for kids to learn in. I had a teacher that loved jamming blues with us. I had a contemporary band. I had a metal band. I had the concert band. So I was really active in being creative, you know, creating my own bass lines from chord progressions. Real world skills that you need to know.
Instead of kind of learning one way and then having to learn, okay, well, how do I then fit into a band?
Yeah, that's it.
It was kind of one and the same.
Yeah, that's it. Like
cool.
from teaching, I feel that I've had students in the past where they feel like, you know, unless they learn it from their teacher, they can't learn it, you know. So I'd really try to get them out of that headspace that, you know, just be creative. You too can learn stuff, you know, put the recording on. I was kind of a little bit lazy. If I couldn't learn something on the recording, you know, figure it out with my ear, I'd just kind of make up my own thing that would work. So I think that had its, you know, sort of benefits and at the same time. So, yeah. So it was good fun.
Yeah, cool. And what was your first bass?
It was a Samick.
Right.
Go the Samick, yeah. I think it was like a $400.
Like a P-bass, jazz bass?
It was PJ. It was the PJ, you know. The $400 Samick PJ and 15 watt sort of amp thing that, you know, I flogged the guts out of, you know, trying to compete with my brother on the drums. Yeah. All that sort of thing.
So graduating high school and then on to study? Did you go and study?
Yeah. Well, you know, it was something I kicked around for so long, you know, through the high school years, just kind of going, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do after school, that sort of thing. I tried a few things, you know, work experience at music shops and all that sort of stuff.
Were you still in country? Yeah. Or were you in Adelaide? Or?
Yeah, no, in the country then. So I did all my schooling through that. And it wasn't until really year 12 that I thought, you know, let's have a go at this. I was doing year 12 music with solo performance on the bass.
What was your repertoire? Can you remember?
There was a great book that I didn't have a bass teacher at all. I didn't have a specific bass teacher. There was no access to that in the country. I didn't even have lessons. I mean, the guitarist, we jammed, but that's pretty much all we did. Sort of anything I did was just learning by doing, being active in bands. Just go, put in my own.
Pre-internet.
Yeah. So we didn't have the internet at all. I just kind of there was a great book that a local Adelaide bass player, Sean Duncan. He had a book that he wrote these solo pieces with backing tracks specifically for that contest. It's fantastic book, and each kind of piece had a different thing. You had more your kind of rock piece, you had your slap funk piece, you had your reggae piece, more your Jarko style piece with the harmonics. So I was kind of learning all those kind of techniques through that. So I really just basically used that book as my solo performance sort of thing, solo performance repertoire. So so that was great, and it wasn't till I sort of had my license. I had end of school. I finally had my own MRP plate, so I was able to drive myself. I went to Adelaide, grabbed 1 or 2 lessons with Sean Duncan himself. It was through year 12 that I thought, let's take this further. I mean, the seed was planted that I could go to uni and study music, and I was really digging it. So I took myself down and did the auditions. So I auditioned on both trombone and the bass guitar, and as luck would have it, I got accepted.
Where?
So this was into Adelaide University, in their jazz course.
But
it's the thing is that they were so much more desperate for trombone players that they took me in on trombone. Obviously had so many bass players that they could choose from. So they sent me the offer on trombone. I thought, well, it gets me in the door. So I took it. I did a couple of years of that, and I still thought it's not quite me. I still want to do the bass. I started through that. Started getting established. Playing in a few bands and playing in the country scene in South Australia as a bass player. So I was playing bass actively, and I thought, I want to do this. I want to play bass. I got out of uni on the trombone, maybe spent a year or two just playing around town on the bass, and then went back in and started studying again on the bass. So
back to the same.
Back in Adelaide. From year 12 through uni, what music are you into? What are you digging? What players are you like? You hear something and you go, that's the new thing. Well, I think I've always been had a big thing for studio players. Like I went through a stage where I was loving everything Nathan East was doing. I was working
back then.
Even back then.
Right. So you were just checking out the credits and.
Yep. I was into
Bass
that.
Player magazine.
I had that. So I was reading Bass Player magazine. Of course, checking out Jarko and. I think, and Gary Willis, and I love those solo guys, what they do, sort of in a soloistic context and all that. But I'm also such a big fan of what bass players bring in a band setting. Cool. Nathan East, Hutch Hutchison, all of that. How they bring their thing to a band setting, what they can do, and how they can sit behind the vocalist. As much as I love the soloistic context of bass, I'm such a big fan of how to make it sit and how to make it work behind a singer.
Sure.
So
cool.
That's I like to have that full circle thing.
So the kind of LA session scene, like Toto, and what about did you ever get into the kind of old school Motown stuff? Right? I was just sort of had different players churning through my brain. I couldn't quite think of them, but Willie Weeks and James Jamerson, there was a massive stage I went through with James Jamerson, just working out what he was doing and how he got his sound, and we had a corporate band. We did a few gigs with Motown stuff, so I get to play all those transcriptions in a band setting, which was it was great fun. So,
Yeah, so I kind of find myself getting. Yeah, I'll check out one guy really heavily for a certain space of time. Then I'll get bored with that, and then I'll go on to the next guy, and then I'll go on to the next guy, and then I might come back again.
Were you ever into like the Flea and Les Claypool stuff?
Not so much. I mean, there was a little point in time, but I was into Flea, but not heavily. Heavily. It was it was Motown.
But Rage Against the Machine though, but
yeah. So Rage Against the Machine, and as I said earlier, it was Rage and Metallica. I used to rush home from school and just stick on the album and play it from start to finish each time and all that sort of stuff. And
I think like talking about those soul guys and stuff like Vic and maybe even Stanley, or whatever. Like when you do hear them playing bass in a song context, like with the flight tones or just on a pop record and stuff like that, when you hear them playing bass, like they're awesome at it. Like the pocket is amazing. Like the tones are they're great at it, but then you have this other level on top. And that's always what kind of gets noticed. But the first time I heard. Not the first time I heard Marcus Miller, but the first time I heard Marcus Miller in that context, not on the solo thing. It was on. I think he was playing for Al Jarreau.
Oh yeah.
It was like one of those Montreux jazz records that I bought. I got it like a fair for like 50p or something like that.
So that's another thing. I went through a huge time of listening to Quincy Jones stuff, Al Jarreau, and which is Louis Johnson and all that as well. So
yeah.
So no, you're right, and that's one thing like that gets me about guys like Victor Wooten is he's got all his soloistic bass stuff that he does, and how he treats harmony, and that is incredible. He's got such a great ear for that. But when he's playing in a bass context, how he lets his melodic content come through in his bass playing. That's like what gets me most about him. It's great.
You can support the song from that position.
Yeah.
Just as well from that front.
Yeah. So I love all that. Is the Latin guys. I love all styles of music. The Latin guys like Oscar Stagnaro. He's amazing himself.
I know him.
Oscar Stagnaro. Check him out. He's kind of I think
Electric.
Electric. Okay. I think he teaches at Berkeley. Don't quote me on it, but
okay.
Yeah, there's heaps of
bit of Anthony Jackson.
Anthony Jackson. So those two guys they're amazing with the Latin chops that they've got. But as I say, Oscar Stagnaro, he's kind of that guy that there's a group called the Caribbean Jazz Project.
Okay.
Which is it's that real.
Or if you're from the States, the Caribbean Jazz Project.
Or the Caribbean Jazz Project, yeah. But that's stuff with Paquito de Rivera and all those kind of Latin jazz kings
sort of thing.
Yeah, that sort of thing, that American Latin thing, where they're just the playing on it's just incredible. Everything is so crisp, clear, and tight, and together, and
So when did the upright thing happen?
The upright thing, well, it's kind of one of those things when you're in uni, you got those, you're listening to jazz, and the thing is when you're playing electric, give the double bass thing a go as well. Yeah. I think it was in that time I was taking off between trombone and electric bass at uni that I was working. I saved up the pennies to buy.
Right. And so that was from the jazz, because you wanted to do real jazz?
Yeah, I think it was just one of those things that you did, you kind of, as a bass player, you did. It was a big instrument. I just wanted to be involved in everything.
I think I had one for like about 2 years, but I brought it out at like Christmas when I was drunk, which was Christmas. And play it, and then the next day my hand was just like, I was like, man, I suck on this thing. It was I liked it, but I didn't love it enough to put in the time. Yeah, and where I was in Scotland, it didn't really seem like there was that much work for it. I could do jazz gigs on electric if I recall. So
I think, like as I said, it's I just love being a part of everything, giving everything a go.
Sure.
What it brought in its sound in a bass player context, not just in jazz, but country folk and all that other sort of stuff as well. It was even in Motown, of course. You know, Jameson started out on the double bass.
Benny King, Just Stand By Me, listen to that.
All of that kind of thing. And it was through my session work in the country scene that I started playing bluegrass and touring heavily in bluegrass with the Davidson Brothers, who are here from Victoria. So they basically said, we've got a tour in the US coming up, we need a double bass player. So
you went, yeah, I can do that.
I'll give it a go. So it was a friend who was Chris Cox, who was also a great bluegrass singer. She recommended me for that because she knew I played double bass as well. I was still quite fresh on the bluegrass side of things. I got in there, gave it a go, went overseas and
toured
the States. We did the IBMA festival, which is the big bluegrass festival, the International Bluegrass Music Association in Tennessee. So
what was that like?
That was amazing. So there was all these guys like Barry Bales on the bass. It's just absolutely amazing. Mark Schatz, who's just kind of one of the bluegrass bass legends.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see and hang out with them and all that sort of stuff.
Cool.
And listen to them on, like Barry Bales on Alison Krauss and Union Station Records.
Right.
I'd listened to him for so long. I remember just in Nashville at the festival, just sitting there having my lunch in the convention centre cafe. And then Barry Bales just comes down and sits on the table next to me, and I just looked up and just about spat my lunch out.
There's probably not that many people that would recognise him. From here anyway,
Well, that's it, So it's just that whole thing of being in Australia where you don't have access to these guys so regularly. You don't see them all the time. That he just happened to sit down when I was quietly sitting there eating my lunch and sat down to do his own thing. So
there's probably a fair bit of banjo happening as well.
Say that again.
A fair bit of banjo over there.
Oh yeah, God yeah. It's like you'd playing at these festivals and you'd have these kids that were like 9 or 10 years old, just absolutely tearing it up, and family.
How old were you?
I think, God, when was that? I think it was early 20s. I think when I toured over there.
Was that like you kind of first big? Like, I'm a musician getting paid to travel kind of thing? Yeah.
Well, I'd been doing, sort of weekend trips to local festivals and all that sort of stuff, interstate. I was still living in Adelaide by then.
Yeah.
So I was doing the odd, small weekend tour. But this is, the first time overseas.
Yeah.
To go over to a new country.
Pretty cool, that so many times I find myself on a plane or a new setting going, the reason I'm here is because I play bass.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Oh, it's
the kids.
That's it. And that's it. It wasn't a case that I was superly versed in bluegrass bass, because it is a specific style.
Yeah.
There is a specific language. And that's what I find with each individual style or genre. There's a specific way or a specific repertoire. Your standards, there's jazz standards, there's country standards, bluegrass standards.
Yeah, and with that style and language comes the tone as well.
Yeah.
That's a bit what's always in the upright is the tone for the bluegrass. But doing the Motown thing, like you could play it on this, but it wouldn't sound as good as playing it on
a P-bass with flat
P-bass. Yeah, that kind of thing. And as working bass players, we kind of have to be able to like chameleon and morph into these things as authentically as we can.
That's it.
Because the guy who's doing that band, that may be all that he does. So he's hyper aware of how we should sound and how to feel more than we are. So when we're doing this kind of jack of all trades, and we've got one week we're doing like a Latin gig, and the next week we're doing a Motown thing, and then we're doing a pub rock thing. It's just you've
got to have a concept in your ears.
Yeah.
And I think that's like I did a lot of with the bluegrass thing. I did a lot of listening to, as I said, Barry Bales.
Yeah.
It's just his tone. It's just it's clean, crisp and clear, and it is modern. In the fact that obviously you got modern recordings, so you can with that digital technology you can control a lot of that.
Sure.
But it's just super accurate in what he does. His intonation is just amazing. Even though, like he may be playing simple ideas, but those simple ideas are things that make you go, wow, it's so simple that I overlooked that. Just playing octaves instead of ones and fives. Just one particular bar just blow your mind and go, whoa.
So listening, checking out your.
Yeah. So what I took away from that is we did a lot of playing over there, and playing like Bill Monroe is the grandfather of bluegrass music. We played the festival, which is held on his property, his homestead sort of thing. So I was checking out all this history there that I wasn't really aware of too much at the time. And I just remember coming away from that festival. I used to watch all these players and just go, all right, now I've got all these things that I want to work on when I get back home. I just stocked up on all the CDs and all that sort of stuff. Brought them all home and just came and worked out the specific lines and all that they use, how to end a song, how to sort of move between chorus and verse and all that, 'cause there are specific things they do.
Cool,
like a country bass line might go, your typical thing like that, whereas a bluegrass thing kind of keeps that time aspect in it, where you got the minims. Yeah, so just little things like that, changing the way of thinking. You can always tell a country guy playing bluegrass because he's rather than so you're adding that melodic context as well as keeping that time going off those minims. So just thinking that way, how can you play the bass role and get a bit more melodic, but still not lose the time role that you have to play. So I think the bluegrass thing was just such a great learning, and even the country thing is how to be simple, not get in the way. You don't want to be blasting Jarko chops with Jarko sound, all over a country song. But how can you be melodic and say what you want to say, essentially, without getting in the way? So it's been a great foundation with that. And the other thing is like all the heavy metal stuff and the rock stuff I used to do back in school. How country's gotten so much more rock and roll these days. Kind of all that background has come. Full circle back around, so I've got all those kind of there's sounds in my head to be able to play with it, all that sort of stuff, so I can sort of pull that out when I need to.
I think you can look at all music and say that's been influenced by something. Like nowadays, like music is such a big mash of all different styles. So, as I say, sort of learning all the Rage Against the Machine and Metallica, all that kind of style of playing has sort of planted a concept of playing in my head, which is really useful in rock and roll stuff these days, or even the country rock stuff these days. Hello, Puss. So I think it's one of the best things for your playing is to be just to be really versatile. Don't block out a certain style of music just because initially you initially you don't take to it.
Sure.
Give it a go. Have a think. Have a listen for a while. Listen as much as you can of different artists within that style. Even give it a go yourself, and no matter how simple it may sound on the surface, there's a good chance there's a lot more complexities going on
in order to make
underneath.
it sound authentic.
But with I find with a style that's simpler in its in what it sounds for face value, bluegrass, even some of the sort of more traditional country stuff is. It may not be busy here, but it's busy up here. You're really listening for what the vocals is doing, to work around that, to play the song. What was taught to me a long time ago was play the song, and since I was told that, I've kind of it's always been a thought, how do you play the song? And it's just one of those things you learn. You get more insights over time as how to effectively play that song. And when you listen to guys like Hutch Hutchinson and
all that sort of stuff. Is those guys really know how to play the song and support the singer in the bass role, and
especially
Nathan East as well.
Especially if you want to work.
Yeah, that's it. If you want to work, really pay attention to working well with singers, to working around singers, rather than stepping on all over their feet. And you've got to kind of put an ego away, and instead of going, well, this is what I've been practicing lately, this is the sound that I've been, working on lately. Pull that away and go, well, this is what's needed for the job. And if you do that, there's a good chance you'll get the call back again.
Yeah. So what was the transition like when you picked up the upright? How did you shed that?
Lots of blisters, I think.
Yeah. I'm guessing you took lessons, but did you try like electric technique on upright?
Yeah, I think. There was a great. I think a big turning point for me back when I was studying in Adelaide was when I met a guy, Peter Dowdall, his name was. Hello, cat. Django's getting in the action.
Yeah.
That's not yours to scratch.
Yeah.
It's a really cute cat.
Giant cat scratching post. The most expensive scratching post you'll ever see.
That's it.
Yeah.
Daddy will get you one for Christmas. Be good. So where were we? So the double bass, yeah. I had the teacher that I had back in Adelaide, Peter Dowdall, his name was. He originally came from Adelaide. He went to New York back in his early 20s, and he studied at North Texas State, and then he kind of made his way up to New York as a session bass player in the jazz side of things, and he did obviously, styles from A to B, from everything. He was also busy as a recording engineer as well.
Okay.
So yeah, he did a lot of top end work. The top end New York studio cats. He was engineering those, so he got to hear those players play as well. So he came back to Adelaide, I think sometime through his 50s, sort of thing. He moved back with his wife and started teaching at the uni there. And the first time I heard him, my jaw just dropped. I went, I hadn't heard anyone play like that before. The electric,
Right.
And the double bass as well. He was just as good at both. He was like an encyclopedia of songs as well. He just spent years doing that, and so I took up lessons with him, and especially when I went back to study on the bass. Took up lessons with him, and had enough pointers that I needed technically, but also I was really trying to be aware of what he did, even physically with technique. Note-wise, I'd go to the gigs and watch. When we'd play next to each other in a lesson situation, I'd just watch and try and mimic that. Things like, just how to kind of get a great walking bass sound in his right hand. A lot of the kids were kind of doing that, whereas he was kind of doing this thing of... sort of really getting that...
A bit of an upright thing on there.
Yeah, that sort of thing, and even, just kind of emphasising that 2 and 4.
Yeah. That was one of the big things for me, was learning, because coming from the rock thing and the punk thing, the one and 3, right? But then the jazz, to make it at least start to swing in some respect, it shifts to the 2 and the 4. Yeah,
so, just watching him, I really got a sense of, on the double bass as well, how to work this right hand in that kind of in that sort of setting. So he was a massive influence. Can't thank him enough for him giving the time to me back then to teach me a lot of those things, and just even flick some switches in my head and all that sort of stuff. So when I moved away, I moved here to Melbourne.
When was that? How long was that?
It was in 2010. I think early 2010. Yeah, just essentially I was touring enough and playing festivals enough over this east coast, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, enough to warrant that, that
enough to warrant moving over, essentially. And a friend of mine, Adam Aldrin, who we both know, the Adam Aldrin trio we both played with, he'd just moved over to live with his brother just beforehand, and he was saying, come on over. And so, I came on over, and obviously, that's how we met through that.
It always helps when there's somebody here that you...
So that they had a room available, which made the transition so much easier. So once again, I thank them a lot for, Neil and Adam for, helping me out with that and being a big help to getting me started over here. And,
so then what's it like being in Melbourne compared to...
Oh, it's great.
Adelaide?
It's bass player city. There's
it is.
So many bass players over here, and
I've got a long list of people that I want to get on this, and it's just like, he's awesome. He does that.
I mean, there's all these guys that I was listening to on records. Roger McLaughlin and Craig Newman and all that stuff. Everett Peters. All those heavy guys that I knew were over here. So when I was moving, I thought I had plans to move us, Sydney, Melbourne. I knew Sydney was really expensive. There's just a door that opened up through Adam and Neil through to come to Melbourne. I knew a few guys here. Shout out to Mitch Cairns as well. He's a great
just up the road.
friend. Yeah, just up the road. So he's doing great stuff with his own studio work and his own bass playing. It's been great to see that grow as well, because he said he moved down from Sydney way,
right?
Maybe Newcastle, I can't remember which one.
Okay.
So it's been great to see that grow for him and his dedication with that as well. There's a couple of guys I knew that it was when I logged in here, I was able to go out and say good day on gigs and catch up and do all that, and sort of get to meet a few guys that way and all that sort of stuff. I took up some study at the VCA too. I didn't quite finish my degree in Adelaide because touring got a bit heavier, and I was just eager to get out and play. The whole thing of this study stuff, it's not getting out there and doing it. I want to get out there and do it. I want to tour. I want to do this as much as I can and do it full time. So there was just doors opening up with that, so it made it sort of easy to move over. I got some established a bit more with the touring, and once I was doing that, I had some teaching under my belt as well. I was able then to slip back into the study at the VCA, and I studied under Everett Peters and Craig Newman and all that, and wonderful guys to study with. They really gave you a lot of their time and attention, and just I knew with those guys, they've done a lot of the although they're great soloistic players, they're great session musicians behind singers. They've got a lot of experience with that, so I felt we could really relate to each other a lot with that. I think of my honours year, I swapped between Everett Peters and even David Jones on the drums, who's he's a wonderful guy again. He gave so much of his attention and time to seeing where I wanted to go with my study. I was writing music as well for the project that I was doing, so we had a lot of fun just going over ideas that I could use in my soloing and writing and composing as well.
Cool.
So so that was great, just to really get amongst and spend time with those guys and learn what
have you done a lot of transcription?
I have. I think I've actually done a lot more transcribing of bass lines than bass solos.
Any kind of transcription.
Because once again, that's one thing that really gets me is just hearing a great bass line. Hear Willie Weeks and James Jameson play Anthony Jackson. What they do with their bass lines is just it's just incredible. It's something that I think I hear it from every musician. We all kick ourselves and say, I need to do more transcript, need to do more of it, so I always feel I need to do more of it.
Always do more, and every time I do it, I just even if you just transcribe 8 bars and you get one new way of looking at something, it's totally worth it. You don't necessarily have to do the full song, obviously. It's good, but don't feel pressured that it's really daunting to transcribe this 7-minute song. Just transcribe the intro or the first chorus, and there might be something in there that you'll learn, and that's the point of the exercise.
That's one thing that I'm really trying to, these days in my practice, I'm really trying to simplify a lot of things and not overwhelm myself with too much information all at once, because that's one thing. You can transcribe a whole thing, a whole solo, which could be 2-page transcription, and you could learn it note for note, but then do you actually go away with actually having put any of that into your own playing?
Usable.
So I find that, even just if you've transcribed the first 4 bars and then just, go over that for a couple of weeks, get it into your playing, change keys of it, try it in different keys, try it over different chords, If it's something that gets you around major chords, whether it be bass line or solo, try it over minor, try it over different harmony. Just even try and enter it into your own playing. In other words, not necessarily copy it note for note, but just let it evolve into your own thing, into your own phrasing and all that sort of stuff. So that way, that's the whole point of transcribing, is learning new information, getting into your own playing. So and that's the other thing, is you could spend hours transcribing something and not actually putting it into your own playing. So if you spend half an hour just getting one small section down, and then you spend another hour just putting it into your own playing, I think you get a little bit more out of it that way. So
and here you're doing a lot more teaching.
You have
been.
There was a time I was teaching in schools. Now I've just at the moment I've just got some private students, which have been an overflow from that. Some VCE kids that are doing really well. But that's great. I love teaching. So I've got something to pass on. These guys have taught me. They've gone out, done the work, passed it on. Now the work that I do, I can then say, this is what you need to do, and this is the context that you'll need it in.
This is what was useful for me.
Hopefully
it's useful for you.
When you're in a band setting, this is what you're going to need to know. This is what you're going to have to listen out for. This is why we work on rhythm, because it helps you. You relate with the drummer so much more, working with the drummer so much more, and things like that. So
should we talk about gear for a bit?
Yeah, why not? Everyone loves gear, definitely. So
what's this? Frankenstein.
This is it's a bit of a Frankenstein now. It's the Lachlan 5501.
01.
The 01.
What's the 02?
The O2 has your single coil there and the humbucker there.
Right.
Yeah, I had a Bellman bass, still have it, which has got that, and I just found that it was just too one-sided. The humbucker is the pickup that you end up using most, which is that Music Man kind of sound. So I wanted something that was a bit more versatile. So this thing comes with the what do you call it? The soap bars. Came with the Bartolini soap bars. Also mentioned, shout out, thanks to Bass Centre for getting these in and helping me out. I think it was Darren. That helped me out with this. I just love the feel of it. How I've just played. Everything from from start to finish. It's a long scale, which I love with the low Bs. Just helps get that extra crispness on it. Keeps it tighter in that lower end. But I wasn't too keen on the Bartolini system that was in there, so I tried out the John East preamp system. I'm a massive fan of Fralin pickups. I played P basses for so long. That's kind of my roots is the P bass. So I for a long time I was playing Fralin P bass pickups. So I got the J bass pickups and put them in here, and just that. It looks a bit funny, but hell, it works. It gives the sound that I want. And then it was through my honours project at uni. I was heavily studying some of the language and the time fill that Gary Willis was employing in his solo recordings. Even in his bass lines, what he does with the tribal text stuff. He's incredible.
Just gold. So talk a little bit about that, the Gary Willis thing, like why, how, what?
The project I was doing, it really focused a lot on his time fill with the semiquavers, with the semiquaver subdivision.
Yeah.
What he did polyrhythmically with that. Because a lot of polyrhythms do come from semiquavers, it's just checking out his time fill. Like every time I listened to what he was doing with his semiquaver time fill, I was basically trying to get his sense of that semiquaver pulse in my own playing. When you've kind of got a funk song, it's got that. That kind of semi-quaver language. I was really trying to, work out
syncopated semi-quaver.
How can I strengthen that in my own playing, get more accurate with my own time feel? I was thinking, I really need to strengthen my time feel as a bass player. The drummers do it all the time. They practice rhythm all the time. As bass players, we're playing rhythms all the time. I felt my 16th chops and internal pulse of that 16th feel wasn't as strong as what it could have been. I thought, Gary Willis does it amazingly well. So let's turn a project into trying to learn that. How has Gary gone and sort of worked on his time feel to get that? How can I get it into my own playing? How can I create exercises that work on my...
What did you implement, like practice wise, to work on it?
The biggest thing was really understanding each individual subdivision and how it felt.
Right.
So whether you're playing. Take the fourth semiquaver of a beat.
Yeah.
We've got our four. So if you take the fourth one, is knowing when you've got that written like that particular subdivision, whether it be an anticipation, semiquaver anticipation of the next beat, making sure that that you're playing specifically that that subdivision, that fourth semiquaver, and not somewhere in between that and the third triplet, that kind of thing, because it's quite specific. There's such a fine line between the two, but it is quite specific in the way it feels and the way it is.
It's tricky.
Yeah, so I was just trying to get that. So a big thing was just really getting familiar with each individual subdivision. So I was doing things like, just like a basic version was even starting out going, so I was playing on the beat. So I was then focusing, on learning to play from the second subdivision.
Sure, yeah.
And then you go to the third one, which is of course the upbeats. So your quavers. So and then we got the fourth one.
Which is the tough one.
Yeah,
That's always the ah.
Yeah, so it's really getting familiar with all those. So when it came to doing things like, if we take the 4/3 polyrhythm, which is you've got in 3/4 time, so 1 2 3 1 2 3. If we were to play, if we were to group every third semiquaver, we'd get 4 even beats through that bar. So you got 1 2 3 over that 3 pulse. So you got 4 notes over the 3, which is something that Gary Willis does quite a bit. And then you're doing things like so things like that, you can really kind of impose this kind of triplet swing feel and all that sort of stuff over a straight feel.
Yeah.
Once again, Gary's a master of kind of doing that as well. So there's a big part of it was just how do I get that into my own bass lines, how do I get that into my own soloing. And a good way that I went about doing that wasn't only just creating exercises that went straight to working on that, but was also composing songs which used those riffs.
Right. Okay.
So that was really good. It's just
because then you had to really think about it and express it
in
a way that worked musically.
Yeah, and that's it. And that was a big thing is how can I use this academic language essentially, dots on a page, and these methodical exercises. How can I then? The next step is make them music.
Yeah.
Not just in a spontaneous way, but in a compositional sense,
cool.
Which has its challenges as well. And composition was something, and I mean it's something we're all trying to get better at and learn at and all that sort of stuff. But it was quite new to me then as well, so it was such a great learning curve to use Gary Willis as a model.
Right.
What's Gary done in his compositions? How can I kind of take a slice of that and create my own thing? From that, how can I take a groove of his and make a song out of that as well?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And so, is that what spawned the ramp system?
The ramp thing, that's such a big. I mean, it's so much more common now. With different players. But yeah, this is a big, which I didn't really realise early on at the time that how much of a big thing this plays in Gary Willis's sound, because his technique is really
very light.
Yeah, it's very light, and this really helps him obviously just not dig in too much, so he gets more speed. He gets a lighter touch.
Yeah.
And I was also playing around with that instead of digging in too much, where you hit your note, your biggest attack is there, then it dies off really quickly. It's essentially turn up a bit more. Yeah, you've got your attack, and then it just
continues.
Yeah, there's a more constant decay on that sort of thing. So, that's one thing that he says he finds really easy is that he's not digging in too much. It just helps him get around a lot easier. For me personally, it really shines on the thumb positions once. I'm just not digging in too hard, so I can really,
keep the time consistent.
Yeah, I can really get that to happen, and when I've tried it on basses, that kind of technique on basses with or without the ramp, I find the ramp gets so much closer to that Gary Willis sound with it. So so to me, it is a big part of his sound, and it's a great sound. So and I made this one myself. It's kind of like I'll give it a go. I went down to Bunnings, bought a few pieces of wood, and.
Well, like you said, you give anything a go.
That's it. So I thought, we'll give it a go. It's a bit of a prototype. It does snap on and off with Velcro strips, and those Velcro strips do come on and off easy. You just pull them off, so they're designed to not make any marks or anything like that. So it's it's completely completely detachable, and I can take it all off like it wasn't even there. And this thing is just you can't really get. There's not too much available in pick guards for these basses. You can get them, but I wasn't too keen on the
so just the gap
style.
When you're slapping.
Yeah, and it's just one of the things just to get my hand a little higher, so when I'm slapping, I'm not digging in too much. Cool. So yeah.
Well, what else do you use apart from the Lakeland? You say you use P-bass.
P-bass. So I've got I actually got a custom build P-bass that I used for a long time, which I love. I think that's got a ebony fingerboard on it.
Okay.
And I love the sound of that. It's just it's just so tight and clear in itself. I've also got a late 80s Japanese P-bass maple fingerboard on it and all that, which I love. It's kind of got that old school sound. I was really after that Tedeschi Trucks kind of sound that those guys get. So Otil and
Tim LaFave.
Tim LaFave, that's the one. What they get on that kind of music and all that sort of stuff. So so I love that big fundamental sound of a P-bass. That's kind of my go-to thing.
With doing the country stuff, like you were saying, so much of the modern country is this sound. It's like modern
active 5-string.
It is, yeah.
So, like, how much of your country stuff is split between vintage P and modern 5?
Yeah, well, I try, because I play with quite a few artists that do quite a variation of sounds. You know, whether it be Deep Creek Road stuff is really rock country, pop country. You got
so is that.
So that's really this. You know, I need
Sure.
that 5-string for that sort of stuff. I don't sit on it all the time, but it's just those odd occasions where you've got that big chorus at the end that you just want to drop down to that low D. You know, and it just kind of helps the song grow somewhere sonically. And then I've got there's artists like Kirsty Akers, who's her stuff is really organic kind of Americana sort of stuff, where the P bass is fantastic for that. Where I get to kind of really think more about that kind of soul playing and all that sort of stuff. So she's got her rock elements as well, which the P bass is great for. So it's just a great workhorse with that sort of stuff.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you've brought out one or the other and they've kind of been like, what's that? Like,
a lot of the times, because I do a lot of touring that requires travel outside of Melbourne, interstate, play a lot of times up in Queensland, it really only allows me enough luggage to fly with one bass, essentially. So, you know, and if I'm playing a festival, I'll play, you know, anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 to more different artists, all at that same festival. So you've kind of got this in itself is a great workhorse in that it really can get a lot of variation in its sounds. There's times where I go, man, I really wish I had the P bass, but you know, it's really only me that notices that.
It still gets the job done.
It's only me that notices that, and essentially it's, you know, it's got your jazz bass thing. The Johnny's preamp is just a really clear, warm preamp that, you know, it doesn't give you anything that's unusable. You know, it's all really usable, and it sits into the mix and, you know, gives me what I need.
Yeah, the Johnny stuff's great.
Yeah. So I love it when I can drive to a gig and I can, you know, I can pack what I need and use one for one for the other. If I'm just doing one artist, I can take one particular bass, but it doesn't happen too often, unfortunately. So,
and then rig-wise?
Rig-wise, once again, they kind of complement the P bass thing. I love something that can just give me that, you know, big tight bottom end. You know, I love a big fundamental sound that can support a nice strong low end. You know, you want a good solid B string and E string when you're playing. So I think something we were talking about earlier today was the difference between all tube heads and solid state and solid states with valve preamps. I'm a big fan of the solid state heads with the valve preamps or the tube preamps, because to me you kind of get enough essence of that warm tube sound, but I find the solid states just stay tighter in the low end. And when you're playing big outdoor stages with the 8x10 cabs and all that sort of stuff, you've got a lot of air to push, and I just find sometimes the tube stuff breaks up a bit too much down the bottom end. And the big stages, so you are standing quite a few metres away from your amp, so you've got to push it a bit harder and all that kind of thing. So for a long time I've played the Hartkey LH1000. I like the big head unit, so I can then, even if it doesn't require all of that, I've just got that headroom there if I need it. The amp's not running as hard as well, so just trying to get a cleaner sound. And lately I've been using the Mark bass, was it the LM Tube 800? I went for the 800, the bigger one, so then if I didn't need all that headroom, I've still got it there to help keep a cleaner sound for me. And I really love this thing. It's got the tube. It's the solid. It's the digital power amp with the tube preamp in it, which
is blendable.
Yeah, it's blendable, which is great, because when you get to a gig, you don't know what cab you're going to use. I can stick that up to any cab. It's so small, I can travel with it. It sits in my backpack. I can take that on the plane, get to the other end, and if I don't like what they've got, I can plug that in and I can really, it's so versatile. I can really get the sound that I'm after. If I don't want too much tube, I can roll it back just to really dial that in to what I want. So it's great. Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah. Other than that, well, I suppose gear wise, pedals. You know, I love the stock standard bass stuff, octavers, as we all do.
Yeah,
So.
bit of filter, bit of I think what else? Active, passive, P-bass.
Yeah, both. Both. I love the sound of both active and passive.
Yeah.
I think, you know, on a live setting when you're playing, you know, backline rigs where it's, you know, bass amps applied and, you know, such a variety of different things and even bigger stages, you know, the active is really great just to help cut.
Right.
Get a little bit more control out of, you know, having your own tonal control on the bass
yeah.
and all that sort of stuff. So,
yeah,
I think, you know, just practicality, it's a great live gig.
Yep.
But I prefer, recording-wise, I prefer the sound of active.
Okay.
I think it just sits in the mix a lot
active
nicer.
for recording?
No, sorry, passive. Passive, I mean,
Right. Yeah.
like, as I said, the P-bass, you know, just sounds amazing. I reckon it sounds better than this once with the headphones on the recording, so...
so what else do you have coming up?
I've got a few festivals. Head up north a little bit for the Denny Ute Muster. There's a festival on. So that'll be good fun.
Who's that with?
That's with Deep Creek Road.
Okay.
So that'll be good fun. Keith Urban's playing at that, so
cool.
It's a
Tell
big
him
one.
hi.
Yeah, I will. You know, I'll tell him. That he still owes you that $20 that you said. So there's a few things on like that, just the general run-of-the-mill festivals. All that sort of stuff. So yeah, hopefully a little bit more local playing towards the end of the year. It's nice to
in the scene.
Yeah, it's nice to sort of do a gig and sleep in your own bed. It's also nice to travel. You know, it's that's one thing about doing the touring is you know, there's nothing like going to the other side of the country and just developing you know, a network of musicians over there.
Sure.
You go to these festivals and, you know, you're catching up with people from all ends of the place, you know, with the big Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria. A lot of times you don't see each other even though you live in Victoria until you meet each other, meet up with each other up in Queensland or something like that.
Cool.
So, yeah, so it's, you know, it's one of those things, you know, definitely if you can get out there and travel and tour and just see the country, you know, I've been to every state and been paid to do it, you know, just loving it, you know, and working with so many different artists that, you know, you really get to scratch the itch of different styles and different types of bass playings. And,
cool.
Yeah, and that's one thing too, is just, you know, is just really stay versatile in your playing, really stay versatile in your outlook towards life. Just try and be as welcoming to new environments, new people, and all that sort of stuff. Because, you know, the better you are to get along with people, or the easier you are to get along with, you know, the more chances you have of being hired again and getting out on the road.
Because you know, there's 100 guys that can play the line, right?
Yeah.
So
well, that's it. Yeah,
they want somebody that they can.
You only need to log on to
hang
YouTube.
Out at the airport with for 3 hours and, you know, drive for another 4 hours and stuff.
That's it. You know, you only need to log on to YouTube to see a million kids just burning it up, you know, and just melting your faces, and you go, "Oh, I'm never going to get there," you know.
But you know, possibly not the guys that are out there touring.
Yeah.
The festivals, you know?
And some of the, once again, going back to that thing of playing the song, and those guys that, you know, they don't necessarily, they may have the chops, but they don't always bring it out. You never see them do it.
Exactly.
So it's easy at face value to dismiss them as being...
Like O'Teal and Tim.
Yeah.
Like, you know, doing this guitar gig, you're like...
Yeah.
Meat and potatoes, and then you see Tim playing with, like, you know, Wayne Krantz, and you're like...
Yeah, it's a completely different thing, you know. Then they got to burn the chops. But once again, you know, credit to them, they know when to bring out the tools that they need.
I think also they just love music, you know. It's not necessarily about, I want to play chops. Like, he couldn't, in you know, the Wayne Krantz thing, like, if he just played meat and potato stuff, it wouldn't work. So it's having the chops and then having the right vehicle for it, where it doesn't seem like chops, it seems like music.
And look, I find too that if it's not chop-based stuff, the bulk of the hard work comes in time feel, you know. How you sit, and that's a big thing with bass, is just if you've got minims to play, how you make those minims sit. Like, you know, with some of these country bass lines that you know, it's all about replicating the feel of, you know, do you cut your notes off short, or do you connect them?
Totally, yeah.
Or do you just that in between? Do you sit up on top of the beat? Do you sit right back? You know, how you work in with a drummer has a big influence on how the band feels. And most singers, they don't want someone that stands out. You know, they just want someone that's solid, easy to get along with, learns the material. That's a big thing. If you're not learning the material, if you're rocking up to the gig, fumbling stuff all the time, and you clearly haven't done your homework, then you're not going to get
especially when you're getting paid to be there. You know?
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, you're paid to do a job, and there's so many times that been on, you know, a big stage where they've got film crews on it. You've never played with the artist before. It's new music, all that sort of stuff. You only get an acoustic rehearsal where you don't get to plug in anyway, backstage just before you go on, and you know, you go on and it's showtime, so you've got to nail it, so you've got to do your homework. That's a big thing, you know, do your homework, be easy to get along with, you know, leave your ego at the door, and you know, you'll keep having the phone ringing. So so it's a big thing. It's not always chops or anything like that. So if you're feeling insecure about your abilities, if you're on YouTube and you're seeing all these young guys burning it, and you feel that you're not going to be good enough to get work or anything like that, that's not what it's about. You know, music is about playing music, playing what's right for the song. You know, so
whatever that may be.
Yeah. So once again, you know, the guys that I've seen get the majority of the work are the guys that don't bust the chops. They're some of the most simplest players, but they're just incredibly solid. You know, they're an encyclopedia of songs. So if they get called for a covers gig, they can do it. You know, if you know, a lot of times you have to learn songs on the fly. You know, the singer says, "Do you know this song?" Or someone, or they take a request. You know, and the singer knows it. You don't know it, but the singer goes, "It's in G."
You don't, and also you don't want to be the guy that says no.
Yeah,
and everyone else goes, "Yeah." You know, you just go,
That's it. You know, the singer goes,
watching the guitar player's hand.
It's in G. You know, follow me. So you know, it's great to. And the other thing with music is it's great to be versatile on different instruments if you know enough about guitar, that you can follow the guitar chords. You know what they're doing. Use your ear to kind of predict where the melody is taking the chord progression next, and 9 times out of 10 you'll get it right. So trusting your ear. There's so many times I've had to watch a guitarist, or the singer guitarist fingers from the back of the headstock, where I can see that little finger, so I know that's G. When I don't see it, you know, I know that's C or it's D, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm looking out for that, just crazy situations like that, you know, that you really just got to be on your toes, and you just got to run with it.
But that's when you rely on all the hours you put in to come in and save you.
That's
the
ear
it. And the diatonic harmony that you got.
That's it. Diatonic harmony is a big one.
Once you get that under your belt,
so learning your thing, and that's where the uni comes in. You know, all the jazz chops that you can learn at uni, you don't necessarily need those in a lot of other styles, rock and pop and country and whatever sort of thing. But
it's just headroom.
Yeah, the headroom intellectually, you know, knowing your theory and how that comes into play as a bass player.
For sure.
So you know whether it's a major or minor chord, you know whether your 6th chord's supposed to be a minor, or whether that's been altered and all that sort of stuff, whether it's been changed to a major. All that kind of thing. So you know, if you can learn a few instruments that support, you know, if you can learn drums, and so you've got a basic idea of what's happening with the kick drum and all that in a drum pattern. So you're learning rhythm, you're learning to read rhythm as a drummer would, so you can lock in with them. The other thing in the singer-songwriter world is being able to sing. You know, I remember I used to watch a lot of other players get the work that could sing as well, you know, and I really wasn't singing. So I went, bugger this, you know, if I'm gonna get busier at work,
get my job, I can do that.
If I want to get busier and be more employable, I've got to learn to sing. So I just started learning to sing. We're talking about backing vocals, you know, being able to, you know, the singing bass player, being able to sing backing vocals and play bass at the same time makes you so much more employable.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I still don't, I don't put myself out there as a singer, you know.
But you can do that. You can do BVs.
I can learn BVs and be as solid as I can at that, you know. And a lot of BVs are about part singing. You learn a part, you're singing a part of the harmony.
Yeah.
So once again, all that sort of harmony knowledge, am I singing the fifth, and then am I, resolving my line on the third, so it's all that sort of intellectual stuff with year training as well, and all that sort of stuff helps you get around in just an everyday working environment. So there's guys that that are quick to dismiss theory and all that, but I'd say for me it's just been one of the best things, because it just gets to the answers so much quicker.
Yeah, you get there quicker.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not guessing. I know I can work out what note the lead vocal's on, what the high harmony's on, so then I can take, if lead's on the tonic and then the high harmony's on the third, I can take the fifth below. Yeah. That kind of thing. I can work it out. I can learn that part. Yeah, that sort of stuff. And to a degree, you can kind of do that on the fly if you have to, if you're in those situations. Well. So yeah, that's a big thing. Just be employable, be as versatile as you can. Be happy to take on as many different challenges as you can. Welcoming to all different types of people, all different ways of learning. Even if the artist or the drummer or someone in the band doesn't think the same way you do or have the same opinion as you do, it's not always a personal thing. So put that sort of personal pride behind at the door. Mm-hmm. Sure, you can speak your mind. There's a way to do it, of course, in a constructive way. But just be happy to get out there and give it a go. And don't be afraid if you don't think you've got all the chops in the world or anything. But that's not music. No. Music's a massive world. Yeah. So
we're gigging, so.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. So you've got something to bring to the table. So just be thankful of that and get out there and give it a go.
For sure, man.
Beautiful.
Wise words. Yeah. Awesome having you around, man.
No worries.
Lots of interesting
Thanks,
stuff.
buddy. It's great. It's great to see so many players come in and watch all the videos. So
I'll do it.
I'm humbled to be a part of it.
For sure. Do you have a website or anything that people can get in touch with you?
I do. Essentially, years ago when MySpace fell off the wagon, that was a place where you could store some content, essentially, so people could hear some tracks that you had. I created the what do you call it? Website, that's the word. It's just joshuaverco.com. Yeah. So if you look at that, I think there's also Joshua Verco SoundCloud. I've just got a few original tracks up there.
People can get to that through the website and stuff.
Yeah, some of those tracks have been linked into there. Cool. It's just a place where I can just say a little bit about me, store some photos of gigging around, so I've got it up online. So,
and I guess we should probably do it a bit, but do you think that's an important thing for a player nowadays to have? Because I know there's lots of guys out there who are flat out working and don't even have Facebook.
Yeah.
But I think in today's day and age,
social media, you don't have to get sucked into the whole thing of being on Twitter and this and that and all that sort of stuff.
But just having a good platform where people look you up, they can find you.
I find that a lot of, between phone calls, text messages, emails and Facebook messages, a lot of people do contact you via Facebook messages, probably if not more so because it's easier. It's just a lot more personal. It's a great way to stay in touch with the scene. It's a great way to stay with it. Stop going. It's a great way to stay in touch with everyone all over Australia, even the people that I've met overseas. I've toured in US and Europe as well. So once again, I still keep in touch and still see what they're up to.
So when you go back, you may have that connection still there.
Even if you don't talk to them, you just get to see what they're up to see how they develop in their own careers and all that sort of stuff. You just get to have a laugh. Have a laugh with people and share jokes and all that sort of stuff. You just get to be a part of a community, on Facebook. You don't need to be online all day every day or anything, but it's good just to check in with people, and
for sure,
the more you can say good day to people and have a laugh with people.
I've had a couple of gigs come out. Somebody goes, need bass player Saturday, and you go.
That's it.
So it's kind of worth it.
Yeah,
big, but
your page, the Melbourne bass players that you started. It's a great community that us bass players here in Melbourne just can share transcriptions. We can share learning material. We can share YouTube videos, stuff that we're digging, and just thoughts and reviews. And so if you're not Melbourne guys, if you're not on that page, jump on that, give it a like. Melbourne bass players. So that's another way you can, both of us, you can say good day if you want to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I reckon that'll do us.
Lovely.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for the next one.
Look forward to it.
See you, man.
See ya.